Welcome to the Resonate podcast with Aideen. I'm Aideen Ni Riada, and my guest today is Irish author Sheila Forsey. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sheila and can't wait to see where our conversation goes. Sheila is an author, a creative writing teacher, and a heritage specialist in schools with Heritage Council of Ireland. Her passion is sharing Irish history from the last 100 years. She's well known for her best selling historical fiction set in 20th century Ireland, which explores the themes of emigration to America and the repercussions of separation. With her play Teddy, Sheila is the first female playwright featured in the Eugene O'Neill Festival in New Ross, my hometown, FYI, following in the footsteps of acclaimed playwrights such as Owen Colfer and Billy Roach. You're very welcome, Sheila.
Thank you so much for having me, Aideen. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, I am excited to talk to you because I know anybody who has delved into a creative pursuit has had their fair share of self doubt and has had their own difficulties getting started. And I know you teach creative writing as well. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit about your journey as a writer?
Yeah, um, it's been maybe more recent than you might imagine. I had a completely different life before I started writing. A completely different road that I was on, and that kind of happened by accident. A lot of things seem to have happened to me, kind of that I didn't really choose in the beginning. Um, so kind of rather than go back on that, I kind of start where I started writing really. I think I come from a small village that there was a drama festival and there was also a drama group. And I wasn't one of these that got involved in sports or anything like that, but I got a part in the local drama festival and that kind of set me on a road of I think a bit of a love of words and a love of plays. And we were really lucky because we had a small village with all these great plays coming to it. And, so that was a brilliant thing to have in rural Ireland. And fast forward then, kind of many, many years later, when I was married and had children. And just before that, a few years before that, I'd moved to Kilkenny City in the Midlands. And I was part of the Watergate Theatre Group there. And I suppose then different things happened and I kind of stopped that. And I came to a crossroads in my life of where I was working and everything else. And I decided, right, I would try something else. And there was a course going on at the time, creative writing through Maynooth. And part of it was being held in Kilkenny City. And it seemed like, it was literally an email, that I sent off, would I be accepted? And I was accepted. And that was really where I began. And that is going back to, I'm hopeless with numbers. I think it was about, would be about 10, 11 years ago. So that's where I kind of started. But I really very much wanted to, I had had a business and I had closed that and I really needed a career. So I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a writer now, So I really went in thinking I'm going to do this. And I think if somebody had told me how difficult it was, I might have thought twice about it, to be quite honest with you, Aileen. But so glad I did do it. But I decided to write a novel then for the market, something I would highly not recommend anybody to do. But I did that, and it was kind of a few years later that I wrote my. I was lucky. I got an agent, and which is you're told extremely hard to get, but I was very lucky. Different things happened, and I got an agent in America actually, and I got a book deal, and it was her then that actually um she kind of just said to me, "What do you really want to write?" And that's when I think I really started to write what I really wanted to write, and that was my foot was always in the past a little bit, and that's kind of I suppose where I feel started to write what I really wanted to write.
How did you ever get an agent in America of all things?
It was actually again a funny little story that I had read a book how do you get published? And it was written by Terry Prone. And at the back of the book, I said, I wonder who actually published her book. And it was an agent in America. And shortly after that, I went to a book launch and I sent my first three chapters, as you do, over to this agent in America. And she actually replied and really liked it and said she was coming to America or coming to Ireland to meet one of her clients who happened to be from Wexford. So isn't it a very small world?
Wow.
So she actually became my agent then. It wasn't quite as easy as that. It took a little bit of time, and I sent her the rest of the book, and then she did sign with me. But that was actually how I came across her. I was literally reading that book, and I looked at the back and saw that that was her agent. I've never spoken to Terry Brown. I don't know anything about her, but that was actually my first of how I actually found her. Because a lot of people recommend the artist yearbook for finding a lot of agents and stuff, and there's a small amount of them in Ireland. But what I have found is that Irish or American agents and UK agents really do like Irish writers. So that's a big plus for us.
That's a great tip as well for anyone
Yeah.
listening. And thanks to Terry Prone, obviously. And I have a great belief that each of us needs to put ourselves forward in the ways we want to put ourselves forward, because that inspires others. And look how that
Mhm.
book inspired
Mhm.
you to uh, check what you could do with it. And there's also the whole thing of, you were willing to, almost like a cold call, contact someone who you had no idea if they'd be interested in you at all.
And and that was something I would not have been very good at the in the beginning. And sending stuff out, and I remember sending out my first ever short story to a competition, and I half expected, the postman to return with like the reward like a few weeks later. And I remember getting a rejection and thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm not meant to do this at all. I must be really bad. Like I wasn't even shortlisted, longlisted, nothing. Oh my goodness, how many times have I repeated that story to give encouragement? Because lots more rejections, arrive through your door as a writer. Some things you just get and some things you don't. And you just learn, like, I suppose, in any art form to stop taking it, try to stop taking it personal. But we're sensitive souls, I think, anybody that is into any type of art form. So it always has a little bit of a cut, but it's not as deep as it used to be.
I'm glad to hear
You get
that.
a little bit. I don't know if you get a tougher skin, but you definitely handle it better. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me, you have a specific theme that runs through your books and even your new play, Teddy, that's related to America and related to separation and that longing
Mm,
for home and
mm.
immigration. So, what drew you to that as a subject matter? What was it about it that called to you?
Yeah. Um. First, the first book that I feel I really put my heart into was Kilbride House, and it was about a Protestant and a Catholic, and I really wanted to explore that whole relationship in Ireland. And I had fell in love with Dingle many years ago, and especially the peninsula. So that was kind of my area to begin. But when I look back now, I know that my childhood, like everybody's childhood, has had a huge part to play. And my father used to recite what we used to say, do a recitation. And he would do these recitations at any sort of, kind of gathering. And there was lots of them. I grew up in one of those houses where there was seems to be gatherings all the time. And he did one particular one called Moriarty, and it was quite a heartbreaking recitation about somebody who had went to London as an immigrant, but had never found the path home, and who'd kind of got lost in no man's land, I suppose, almost in London. And he used to say this, and even as a child, I knew all the words, but I still used to kind of get sad that Moriarty never got home, and it stayed with me, that story. And then he had also had another one, and it was about a Protestant and a Catholic, and it was called The Papish and the Prod. And he used to say this, and he had a great way of saying these recitations. And I think they had a profound effect on me, to be quite honest with you, Aideen, because even today I still hear them in my head. My dad's dead, you know, over 20 years, but, they're still alive and well with me, and they definitely have played a huge part in my writing. So that theme has been there from childhood, and also their own brothers and sisters, especially my mother's, all emigrated to America, and they all came back with great stories, of times that they had. But I also heard the stories of what I now know as the forgotten Irish, and it was those people that really interested me. The people who didn't get home, and the people who left for another, and many didn't want to leave. They left, of course, especially in the 50s. So many went, and they were, they gave so much to Ireland. They sent back so much money, between sending money for in to their families and to their parishes, and so many envelopes came home with money when Ireland was possibly on its knees. And they really did help, but some of them got lost. And I saw a documentary maybe about 12 years ago on RTE, and it was about this hostel in London where some of these men were actually still living, and some of them were in their 80s now, and they had left at maybe 15 and 16, from a lot from the west of Ireland, and they had never got home. So they really stayed with me, and I kind of wanted to find their voice and see. So they very much are in a lot of my writing. Teddy is different. Teddy is a little bit different to that. I had never written about the 80s, and growing up as a teenager, I was born in 1970, so the 80s were really, my years as a teenager, and so that, like every teenager, they had a profound effect on me. And so I really wanted to explore that time in Ireland as well, because there was different things that happened in it that I remember really, really well. And for me, they did influence Teddy in a strange sort of way.
So, what's different about Teddy? And I mean, first of all, I was really curious what prompted you to write a play, because you obviously been doing the historical fiction novels for a little while first. Was Teddy one of the first plays that you'd written?
It actually was. Yeah, it was. It was written. It's funny. My publisher for my book, when she read, I think it was my second book, she said, "Sheila, you write um, like the curtain is going across, and it's almost like a play." And I thought about it, and I said, "But sure, that's what I knew. Really, that's what I knew. I was brought up with drama, from going to festivals and seeing festivals and seeing plays and John B. Keane and all those kind of plays, and then when I lived in Kilkenny, I was, as I said, very much part of the Watergate Theatre Group. So, you know, I suppose that was my first kind of love. So even though I'm new to playwriting, I feel I've kind of gone back really full circle, because I kind of started there really with a love of words. I don't think I was brave enough to write a play before, because theatre for me, um, is really powerful. I feel like I I think I had more room in a novel to maybe find my voice, where when you're watching a play, I mean, it's so alive and it's so real. To be black and white about it, if it's not good, I mean, it's there's no room for it. It's over. Where I think I didn't feel confident enough to write a play until the time was right, that I felt that, okay, maybe I can explore this. And then the Wexford Playwrights Studio set up, and I was accepted into that as part of a group of emerging playwrights starting, and we got a lot of encouragement there, and the mentorship was really, really good. So so that really was part of how I started. Even though I had kind of dabbled in it when I had done creative writing in Maynooth, I had never said I am going to write a play. It was just I wasn't going to go there, because I did not want to write something. I was a play. I think I was too um I didn't feel I would be able to write a play, I think.
Well,
And
it
it's
is a
only now I
very
feel I have the confidence. Yeah.
it's a more of a vulnerable position because you're being judged moment by moment. I mean, if you sat in that audience, you could feel whether there was a response or not. So
Yeah.
you're so much closer to the listener, to the person that you're speaking to. That communication is more intimate,
Yeah.
more raw.
Yeah, I'm one of those in a play that, or when I'm in the audience of a play, I find, and I've only realized this myself from going to plays, that I will be the one that will, I'll cry if it's sad, and I laugh. You will hear me laughing, but I will also cry. So, I'll also be bored if it's not any good. So I was going to be my own worst critic.
Yeah.
I'm quite distracted as a person anyway. So I will be the first person to think, oh my God, will this ever be over? So I knew I was going to be one of my own worst critic when I was writing a play, where it's like with writing. I've just started a new group of writers, and adult writers, and they always go, I'll write a short story. A short story is easy. Where anyone that's writing knows that a short story is actually quite a difficult thing to do. It's a craft by itself. Where a novel, you have more room. With theatre, I think you have no room. You've got to get this right. But what I didn't realize was that it is such a collaborative thing. Really, it's not just you writing a play, and that has been the great process that I have learned throughout, from the beginning, from when it was with Wexford Playwrights, and then when it was with Eric, who has given me so much, you know, guidance in redrafting. And even though you work with an editor with a book, you have to get it to a certain degree before you get that kind of help, and I am somebody who loves learning. I'm not that writer who will go, my writing is great, and I hope everyone else thinks it's great as well. I will be the person who will. I'm just starving for, I love somebody to collaborate with, and helping me with something, and that you were both learning. So I love the process, but didn't realize that I would love it, I suppose.
And Eric Fraser Hayes he's renowned as a director for directing Eugene O'Neill plays. When you started working with him, did you feel that experience? Was there what was it that you got from him that helped you to see the play from a different angle?
Working with Eric has really changed my suppose belief in myself as a playwright, I think, as well. He he's I think he's such a fantastic director and mentor, but he's so gentle with it. Everything was a guide, suggestion. It was, would you like to maybe perhaps try it from, look at this, whatever. And he gave me so much room, you know, that that really, really helped. So it was a huge learning process for me, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And I know that now I can take that kind of with me as well. um but so working with him, I never felt, for a minute, I think that there is this person with so much experience that I don't really have, of of writing, of the position that he was in. But yes, he was just one of those people that kind of met you at your own level, and he was just wonderful to work with, absolutely. And I just felt I've learned so much from him.
Because the thing about a play is when you hand it over to a director, it'd be like getting one of your books made into a film. It's
Mm,
like they could
mm,
create something completely different from your vision.
yeah.
So the having the right director, a director that is sensitive to what the writer may have wanted, allows him then to go, his interpretation is then guided by your wishes. But then each actor has their own interpretation of the characters as well, and a certain look or a certain way of moving can actually completely change how the words themselves are interpreted, because there's so many layers. Words are all, they really are guided by the intention behind the words, and sometimes that's harder to read in a novel, and it can be very more obvious in a play. Was there anything within Teddy that evolved dramatically through Eric's interpretation and through the actors' interpretations?
Oh God, there was a couple of things really. I suppose from the first reading, or the first, I did have a professional reading before it went to Eric, and the actors, especially the female who played the mother, yeah, her insight was really significant for me, and that changed really in the next draft quite dramatically for me. Um, it's strange. What you write down first sometimes is is so key to what comes out at the end, to the end product, and yet it'll go through so many drafts. But it's strange, but by some coincidence, one of my earlier drafts went to Eric first, and there was something in that we had removed completely, but it was that thing that actually drew Eric to the play.
Wow.
So, which was really strange. So that has come back in, and that was, when I look at it now, it was the soul of the play, and without it, it didn't have the soul. So it was a strange thing that he saw that, and he reminded me of why I wrote the play, and that was a really um, a personal thing. I think that I'd almost forgotten of why I had written the play, and then I went, oh, that's actually the whole reason behind this entire play. And if that was gone, as I said, the real soul of it wouldn't have been there. So it was just a really strange thing that happened throughout it. So there's been lots of little things like that, but that was probably the biggest thing that happened for me.
Wow. And are you going to reveal what
I can't
that point
really
is?
because
It would
yeah.
be a spoiler for the play.
Yeah, I feel it will actually, because there is something that kind of runs through the entire play, that growing up in County Wexford, and I won't say too much, and Enniscorthy being my local town, there was something there that, really kind of, me, as just personally as a child, I was quite, I suppose haunted is the word I would use, but I can't really say too much more, or I'll give away the story, so
You're
I better
making
not do that.
everyone so
Yeah,
curious now. This is going to boost
yeah.
sales of the
Okay,
tickets,
right.
no end.
I don't know
It's okay
if they
not
can
to
put the
say
two
it.
together. Yeah, if they
Yeah.
can put the two together, even when you're looking at the play, what was she even talking about? But yeah, so
Will you
there was
tell us
there
a
was
little bit
definitely a
uh,
reason.
tell us a little bit about the play, the basic
Yeah.
things about the play, just in
Okay.
case
Yeah.
someone hasn't heard much about it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's set in 1980s Ireland, and just in my own head, it's set in 1987. Um, and it is really, I suppose, even though it's called Teddy, and Teddy is such an important character in the play. Rose is living in America, and Rose returns home to her home for Christmas. Rose is doing really well in America. She was very lucky because she has an aunt and an uncle there, so she got her green card and whatever, and she's actually went back to school, and she's designing her own clothes. So this is, quite an unusual thing in 80s Ireland. So she's doing really well, but she did have a child when she was 16, and he is living at home with her parents, and it's Christmas. And even though Rose's life is going really well in America, Teddy, her son, is still living in Ireland and being lovingly reared by her parents. So, you know, Rose comes home for Christmas, but there is straight away a kind of a tension that, is there more to Rose's visit than meets the eye? Is she just coming home for Christmas? Or, does she want to spend more time with Teddy? And what will that mean for the family?
Mm.
And I suppose nothing like that happens without a lot of family drama, that she had this child and she left and she went to London first and then she went to America. But also Teddy is challenged developmentally, and he's approaching 18. So this kind of changes things a little bit. And that's really where we kind of meet the family. And there's also a brother in the play who has a very important role, because he's kind of, I think, he's keeping everyone together.
And he's
And
played
of
by
course,
Sean O'Brien, I believe. Bobby is the
he is
character,
indeed.
right?
Yes, Bobby. Yes, he is. And Lily is the mum. And Lily has lived, quite a normal country life, I think, for her from where she came from. And they're quite well to do family. They're not like, they're quite a well to do farming family. They're the son Bobby, he has horses. They go to the point to point. It's they're doing well for 1980s Ireland. And so things should be really, really good within the family, and they are. And she's coming home and she has presents, and it opens, with a lot of family cheer, because she's home for Christmas.
Beautiful.
So without telling too much about the play, yeah. So there's a lot of different themes explored within it, and family, of course, is a huge theme, and I suppose responsibility and control as well. I think in a strange way, and religion, because it is 1980s Ireland. Religion is still very, very strong within Ireland, and not just religion of 1980s, but I think the strains of religion of the decades before as well, because he was born in 1970.
Mm.
Teddy was. So he was born even at a different time now, and it would have been a very religious Ireland.
So interesting.
Um, yeah. So
And I know that the Eugene O'Neill Festival is known for bringing together actors from both America and Ireland. You have playing Lily, Margaret Roster, who's well known in New Ross as an actor and director. Sean O'Brien, who is a leader in Irish in the theatre scene in New Ross as well. And the rest of the actors, I know some of them are from America. Isabel Serguza is the American lead actor. And was there anything about working with the mix of cultures that made it easier or harder for you, Sheila, going into it?
well, and Andy Doyle, actually, who's a Wexford actor and so well known and so well respected in not just outside of Wexford as well. He's actually playing the father. So was there
And Teddy Phelan is playing Teddy himself.
yes, he is indeed.
Hmm.
Meeting Isabel has really, I given another layer to the story, because I think if you were living in America for that length of time, you would become quite Americanized as well. And I think Rose wanted to become more Americanized. So it was really lovely to actually explore that. And also, Isabel has a lot of Irish connections as well. So it's a kind of a strange one. It's kind of coming a little bit full circle for us all a little bit, So because she has a lot of Irish connections, and that has given her, I think, and myself, that connection that we have together, that because who hasn't got Irish relations and Irish immigrants and everything else, but you forget about the people in America, that they have the stories as well. They have the stories from Ireland, and we talk so much about the people that went away, but the people that are away, they have their own stories, and they hand them down to the next generation and the next generation, and that is where Isabel is. So so she brings a lot to the role that I hadn't really thought about. That about those. If you were to put the play into the future of perhaps another generation, of how they would feel about this. So she's brought lots of different layers to it. So and it's lovely to have the mix of the Irish and American actors.
Yeah. Well, we're very excited that your world premiere of Teddy is happening in the humble town of New Ross, County Wexford. And we wish you very well with the rest of the rehearsals and everything that's going on. Are you working on another novel as well at the moment?
I have completed a novel at the moment. That
Yay!
has taken me, yeah, like quite a long time, a couple of years, and it's a biofiction, so it's a biographical story of somebody's life. So it's a way nesting in different publishers at the moment. So hoping that it'll all come to fruition at some stage. And
Is
yeah,
this
so
a
but I have
famous
to
Irish
say
person?
it is
Oh,
well, she's quite forgotten.
okay.
So and you see, I like the forgotten. I'm interested, I suppose, in bringing light to the forgotten. So I came across this story, and I'm not allowed to say who she is just at the moment. A lot of mystery. But I can say she was really famous in her day, and but amazingly she has been forgotten. So I'm hoping the book will give light, and I'm hoping she will be happy that her story has been brought back to like she's actually she died about 20 years ago.
I'm
So and
fascinated.
yeah. So
And just finally, I'm kind of feeling into this idea that you really love. It's like honoring ancestors in one regard as
mm,
well. That
yeah.
you have a great compassion for those who have gone before us, the people who suffered through life to give us a better life, and that our lives are completely built on the lives of those who've gone before us. But like you say, they're so forgotten, and I know that their souls will be happy to be remembered in whatever ways we can. And I'm very grateful for you for coming on the podcast today. Is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners, perhaps any listeners who are budding authors or who have a creative outlet that they are not fully exploring yet?
Well, I can a few weeks ago, I actually started doing an art class. And now I know why people have a little bit of fear of taking up a new art form, or maybe even starting one if they've never kind of tried it before. Um, feel the fear. I suppose that's a cliche, isn't it? But it's something you kind of have to do. And the one thing that I hear a lot of, oh, I'm kind of going to wait till I have a bit of time, and then I'll start to write, or maybe when I retire, or maybe if I could get away for a week or whatever. If there's something that you want to write about, or if you have a story that you want to write, or you feel it needs to be told, just start it today. Just write it. Write the first line. Start with one word and just begin, because there is no right time. There's no right time at all, and we have a lot of regrets in life. Who doesn't? Well, I do anyway. And I think anyone that I know really, really well, everybody has a few regrets. So don't allow the untold stories to be a regret. If there's a story that needs to be told, you're the one to tell it. And and we all have our own unique stories to tell. So just don't wait. Just go and do it.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Resonate podcast today. Thank you to everyone listening. We're very honored that you've taken the time to listen in. If you've got something creative that you're waiting to do, please take Sheila's advice. Don't wait. Don't wait. Start today. And thank you so much, Sheila, for being here. That's it for today's episode of the Resonate podcast. Bye bye.